Hello and welcome to the Surveyor podcast with James Baker and John Lever. Two chartered surveyors embarking upon a social media journey, locked in a virtual room with nothing better to do than to discuss everything surveying. And some things not.
Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of the Surveyor podcast. We've got a special VIP guest today, which I'm really looking forward to. Normally I'd hand over to John for comments and providing feedback that we've had from various listeners, but I don't think we've had any, have we, John?
No, sadly not. No, obviously no one's listening. But on that note, I would say, I just looked it up. We've had over 860 odd so downloads. So that's not bad for how long are we into this? About a month and a half now, aren't we?
Yeah.
So that's cool. So we've got plenty of people listening to it. We'd just like to have some people give us some feedback and tell us what they think. And just on that note, if anyone is interested, it's survpod.com, survpod.com. There's a feedback form there, or we tend to find Apple Podcast is the best one for doing the little star ratings and everything. I haven't actually looked at, we had a 5-star rating. I don't know. Have you looked at it recently?
No, I couldn't work out how. I couldn't. I
mean, with Bola on with us, it's going to be at least 15 stars, even though.
Oh, please.
So cool. All right, no, that's it from me, James. I'll let you introduce our guest.
Thanks, John. So I'm going to embarrass myself and pronounce this completely wrong, as I did just off recording. So I apologise. But today we've got Bola, and I'm not going to pronounce your surname because I got that dreadfully wrong. So, Bola, before we go any further, it would be great, I think, if I'm sure there's loads of people aware of who you are, and I've been aware of you for a long time, but this is probably the first time we've actually had a conversation. So would you like to just give a bit of an introduction about who you are, or a bit of background?
Oh, wow. Well, guys, look, thanks for the invitation. As for VIP, you can drop that. I mean, I'm just a regular guy, but how do I start this question? I can never say it the same way twice, but I'm just a humble QS, really. And
there are no humble QSs, Bola.
Yeah, so they say. But
no, I can't agree with that. I'm not a humble QS.
That
is true, John.
Yeah, I'm far too outspoken.
well, I'm a driven QS. I'm driven by the fact that I've had a checkered journey into the profession. I've done everything you can think in reverse order. And I've just had a very conscientious journey in terms of recognizing that those coming behind me keep asking me the question, how do you do what you do? How can we be as good as you? Blah, 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 blah. Something of an unintentional role model, because I don't call myself a role model. But fundamentally, I just love cost management, not quantity surveying. And the two are different, as you know.
Yeah, that's true. I actually, do you prefer sitting behind the desk crunching numbers, or do you prefer going out on site and seeing the world grow in front of you?
I was never desk-based.
I'm not either. I'm very much let's get out and get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. So
yeah, I love construction. I mean, literally, my first love was Lego.
Oh,
my parents, they.
I hope you haven't grown out of that yet.
Oh, please, I'm a big kid.
Yeah, excellent.
And now it's
all of a sudden I was worried it was just me. Yeah.
No, good answer. I think that's all of us, really.
Yeah. No, Lego is just out there, isn't it? And on that note, I can't go a podcast without mentioning I took delivery of my log cabin last week, which is a put it together log cabin. So the
really?
logs that cross over. I tell you, I'm so excited about building it. It's unbelievable.
Just to clarify, that is built out of timber and not Lego.
No, it is timber. It's 10 foot by 14 foot. So there's some quite big timbers as well. So but I'm really looking forward to putting it all together. So no, that's cool. That's cool. So just on that note, though, so career history wise, where did you, because I won't ask how old you are, but you a couple of days over 21. So where did your career history start and to get you into where you are now?
Well, I'll go back to, so I graduated in 94, right? And I started uni at the age of 20, so 23 when I graduated. I actually turned big 50 last week, so yeah, I'm in the 50s club apparently.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately next week I'm 3 years ahead of you.
Ooh, I'd never guess. I'd never guess. But yeah, so career history. I graduated as student of the year, first and final year of my degree course. bagged myself a first class honours thanks to my parents and the whipping of having to do well, because obviously they're Nigerian, I didn't really have a choice. And so came back to London in '94, joined City firm, Franklin and Andrews, and I kind of did the tour, you know, G&T, Davis Langdon, got qualified in '99. And I just thought, you know what, those 5 years weren't great. I'm going to travel. And I did. And I did an internet search, as clunky as it was in '99. I did an internet search, and the criteria was largest Black-owned construction company. And top of the list was a company called H.J. Russell, headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. And I called up, as you do, asked to speak to Mr. Russell. They thought I was joking. He could detect, oh, you're not from Atlanta. No, I'm from London. I'm calling from London. And you want to see Mr. Russell? Yes, I do. Well, we're in Atlanta. Give us a call and we'll make it happen. August 2000, I'm in Atlanta having this conversation with Mr. Russell. And fabulous conversation. So much so, that guy empowered me. And I came back to London. I set up my first business, Accessible Advice, in 2000, November. And then I failed miserably because I didn't have any clients, didn't have a business plan, didn't have any whatever. But yeah, that's how I got into the industry and then got out of the industry. And having got out of the industry in 2000, I then set up Urbanis as a construction manager, 2003, with a focus on public sector contracts and delivering Section 106 deliverables and engaging with communities. And pretty much that's how the young person piece kicked in.
Yeah. Literally
for 15 years, up until 2018, I was delivering various tranches of public sector repairs and maintenance, new build, across London, with all kinds of challenges as a subcontractor, construction manager, quasi-QS in the public sector. So that's pretty much career. And then as of, I'd say late 2018, I took the view that I'm not doing it anymore. I just couldn't keep running around. It's a pressured environment running a construction business, right?
Yeah.
And I was doing it with a QS hat on, which was even more perverse. But I thought, well, now I've got a 360 perspective. I spent, 10 years on the client side, 15 years on the CM side. I'm going to start advising and with a focus on digital transformation, because the supply chains are broken, John.
Yeah,
okay? They're broken. I mean, we have such fundamental issues. There's no respect at that level, So I was just incentivized to just kind of bring that body of work to the client and to young people. So that's my career journey in about 5 minutes.
Cool. and at the moment, so with your Urbanis, is the company still going? Are you sort of CEO, chair, someone else is running it now, or?
No, I mean, we literally disbanded. I mean, I had a horrible car crash. We got hit initially with part of the Corellian fallout.
Right, yeah.
And that hurt. And then we just had a couple of contracts go horribly wrong. And I mean horribly wrong, right? And I just downsized, just did, look, guys, girls, I tried, didn't happen.
Yeah.
Go separate ways kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think
I reinvented myself as a management consultant on the back of it. But it was painful. But
yeah, but very brave as well, though, because it's always difficult. I mean, not on anywhere near the same sort of size or shape, but we're 20 years old as a business this October, and we've reshaped 6 times now in those 20 years. You don't stand still, do you?
Correct. I mean, it's funny, we turned 18. I mean, I was getting, my daughter turned 18 last year, and business turned 18 this January.
Mm.
You kind of think back and you think, 18 years.
Where did that go?
What on earth have I been doing for 8,
I know. All I've done is got fatter. And it's just like, oh, goodness me. And mind you, I've been investing in this. So 20 years worth of investing in it. I don't want to stop just yet. So
that's one way of looking at it.
And I did a cheeky look at your LinkedIn, and you've got some non-exec directorship things going on as well, haven't you? So that's interesting. I tell the truth, I don't think I'm clever enough to do it, but it's one of those things that I'd really thought, oh, that sounds really quite interesting. So,
you know what, John? If I'll be honest with you, my first role came up for about 8 years ago with the Construction Youth Trust. right? Became a trustee there. And that was really about the CYT at the time, recognizing we need to, one of our core pillars is we engage with hard to reach disadvantaged youth. Bola, can you come and step in? Which I did.
Yeah.
And it just felt like they wanted intellectual insight into how do we navigate this space well? How do we do it from an informed perspective? And we've got a body of work, bring it to the table kind of thing. The other roles I've had are more about assisting growth, etiquette, process. You're kind of using your own professional experience and checking and verifying, is what you're doing really good? Is it the right thing to do? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I mean, but the most recent one is Chartered Surveyors Training Trust, right? And that was really kind of reverse of CYT, because now they're saying we want to grow the talent pool, the pipeline that I keep talking about. Can you help us do it? So, I haven't really gone down to traditional, even on the NED space, because NED normally is like, okay, we'll do kind of 5-6 days work a year, get paid a ton of money. And I just haven't been that lucky. but
well, it's early days. It's early days. You've got plenty of time. You've got at least another 10, 20, 30 years ahead of you at least.
God willing, absolutely.
So, and when you're aiming to retire, then let's talk 55. What's your game plan?
John, let me be honest with you. I as you do, you think, right, 35, 40, I'm out. I got to 35, 40, and I was worried that I hadn't even started. Right? And I think, one of the consequences of being your own business owner is you don't plan in the traditional way. You've got to plan on the hoof.
Oh, no, I agree.
Right?
Yeah.
And so my vision was so huge and large, actually, it was almost impossible to achieve. But you know what? Since last year, since this whole COVID pandemic disruption piece has kicked in, I've never been more optimistic in my life, because it's just played into my hands. I'm a disruptor naturally, so I'm thriving in this space at the moment. So I think, to answer your question, God willing, maybe 5 to 10 years.
Oh, very good.
I will never retire, because I love keeping busy.
To tell the truth, I think that's probably exactly where I'm at. It will probably slow down a bit, but I can't see what would I do if I was retired.
Build another log cabin, right?
Build another log cabin. Now, this one's going to last 30 years allegedly, so I'll have to start extending it. I think that'll be the thing. So cool. No, that's good. Fantastic. It gives us a really good feel for where you're at. I'm going to pass you over to James for next one.
I was just going to chip in there because that's really interesting, because I've only just recently started my own business, having been employed my entire career, and I'm 42. Funnily enough, I've got a 1-year-old son, so by the time I'm reaching my business is reaching 18 years, which hopefully it will do, then I'm hopefully be looking at retiring. My plan is that I want to be retiring around 60, so we'll see how that works. But interesting your comments about planning, because I had all these different plans when I was planning my business, if you like, a number of months back, sort of middle of last year, and that's changed drastically in this kind of space, and certainly with my experience of what's gone on, and yet I'm finding that I'm absolutely thriving in this situation as well. So I think a lot of people in construction are finding the same.
Yeah, it's nice to have a recession where we're not the at the brunt of it all, isn't it? To a certain extent. Not that I would wish ill on anyone, and I feel drastically sad for the the entertainment and the sort of, what's the industry called?
Hospitality
industry. Yeah, that they've kind of taken a real kick in. I mean, obviously recessions in the past, Bola, you'll be old enough to remember the last few. It's been hard, but it's not been quite as drastic as this. But I think it's been quite pleasant, obviously not wishing ill on anyone, it's been quite pleasant not to be at the brunt of it for once. And let's hope the pandemic disappears as quickly as we can make it. But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think you're right, actually. I mean, this for me, because I've on the one hand, I've got lots of allies and colleagues in the contractor space, and it's a bloodbath, right? Let's be honest. It is not great over there. I'm so glad that I do not have a contracting business at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
If you're tied into fixed price contracts, for example, you are on the floor at the moment, right? And payment, supply chain etiquette, clients, COVID clauses. Oh, I mean, it's a nightmare, honestly. So whilst, the world is talking about hospitality, air travel, the lower chains of those supply chains are in serious trouble. And, you know, John, I remember it was 91 when I started my degree. 91, that recession of 1991. In fact, it pales into insignificance.
Oh, absolutely. That's when I started work. That's my first QS job was in...
Was it in 91?
No, 1990. So 91. But I was lucky. I was with a QS practice that had a lot of public sector and petrochem work. Didn't impact on them.
Right.
So as a business, you know, it was an exercise of maybe trimming a little bit here and there. But as a business, they didn't really suffer at all. So, but yeah, the one that hit us the hardest, I'd already had my business by then, was the, 2008, 2009.
That hurt.
You know, that was quite a kick in. And then this obviously when the pandemic hit last March, I was kind of sat here going, right, I'm not sure we're going to be in business in years time, but thankfully we are. So, you know, and it looks like the marketplace for us as a training company in surveying is stable-ish. So, you know, that's good news. But yeah, you're right. The whole, I was talking to someone today who's based in Southern Ireland.
Yeah.
And still in Southern Ireland, not in Northern Ireland, but in Southern Ireland, about 60% of the building sites are shut still. And that's a massive impact. Whereas in Northern Ireland, they're open. Obviously, I think they're mainly open here in the mainland as well. So, but yeah, Southern Ireland, not such a rosy place, and just across the water, you know, not far away. So
Awkward.
Yeah, very awkward. Yeah, cool. Okay, let's James, I'm going to hand over to you for the next one then.
Yeah, thanks, John. This is a question we always like to ask, and I'm interested as to what you sort of nugget of wisdom you'll share with us, to be honest. So what's, if there is, of course, but what's the one thing that you wish you'd known at the start of your career?
That I'd lose everything.
Ah.
Hey, guys, I'll be honest with you. I mean, yeah, if you know, the funny thing is, I actually went into business going for broke. You see, my view is, if you go into, and don't forget, I didn't, you know, me setting up in business wasn't a nice idea. It was a necessity. I had nowhere else to go, right? So I had to set up and I had to succeed. But in trying to succeed, I said, I'm going to go for broke, which means I'm going to do everything it takes to succeed. That is dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And given that I moved from PQS consultancy, freelance into contracting and then back, to lose your livelihood, lose your office, lose your business, it's tough, right? And, you know, it's my own self-belief of my own capability that allowed me to reinvent myself and constantly remain agile. So that agility that you need in business is what saved me, as well as, of course, the love of my family, right? But if I'd have known that I was going to have to lose to win, and I wrote a piece about that on the DiverseCity website, if I knew that at the beginning, I'm not sure I would have started. Yeah. Because you got to go in knowing that you're going to succeed, right? But you know, what is success? It's failure turned inside out, apparently. Yeah, so you've got to fail. Yeah. You've got to fail. But you know, I'm saying if you fail big, because you'll only recover even better. But if you avoid failure, try to sidestep it, you'll never succeed because you won't know where your parameters are. So I think, you know, for the early business starters, be prepared to make a mistake. Not that it will cost you everything, but it's those big mistakes really that define you as business owners moving forward. Yeah. And if I'd known that I'd had to lose everything to win, not sure I would have started.
No, okay, that's a really, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's an interesting one, because people have asked me in the past, oh, you know, would you do it all again? It's like, yeah, I've enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't want to work for someone else. I'm unemployable. I'll be useless. Someone go, oh, can you do this? And you're looking at it going, yeah, no. You know, it'd be useless, wouldn't it? It'd just be, oh, you've lost another job. Yeah, why? I didn't want to do it. So
I get it, 100%. Absolutely right. You know, because you become spoiled, right? I mean, you're right, literally unemployable. You've got to figure it out for yourself, because you've learned all these things. You've had your autonomy, you've had your space, you've had your platform, and you know, I mean, I've tried it. You know, in trying to get back in the market. Yeah, I was hit with ageism. I was hit with everything. Overqualification. Yeah, anything to just forget it. So you've got to start from scratch. Yeah. And I also think people would start to resent you because they think you're trying to get their job. Oh, please, much more experienced, aren't you? And it's just like, I just want to come to work. Do you know what I mean? It's almost unimaginable. Yeah. You know, you're trying to downplay yourself.
Yeah.
And you're still too much on paper. Like, well, you've done all this stuff. Yeah, but I still need help. Really? You can't be serious. And it's amazing how the dynamics work. So I think, you know, if you've got, and I always tell young people, don't chase money, chase the plan. Because if you chase money and the money runs out, you hit a brick wall. But if you chase the plan, you'll keep going on those dark days, right? When
that's quite sound advice. That it's interesting what you're saying, actually, because in the aftermath of the 2008 recession, I did get made redundant, and I spent a period of probably no longer than 6 to 8 months where I was freelancing contract work but didn't set up a business as such. I consulted to other businesses, so self-employed. The work dried up and I went back into full-time employment, and I've probably in that period of my career changed jobs more time than I did at any other point in my career. And I think largely because I'd had that freedom and I was always looking for something else. And it's only now that I've gone into self-employment and set up my own business that I find I'm quite content in that. And I think that's probably why there was probably, of those jobs I've had since that period in the 8 years or so, there's probably only one that I was really quite happy in, but I got a bit bored because it wasn't going where I wanted it to go. I was very happy and I enjoyed the job, but it wasn't going where I wanted it to go, and I needed to grasp some sort of control over that. And ultimately is why it's led me to this point of starting my own business. But yeah, interesting what you say, because it allows me to reflect, actually, and that's probably where I've been. I probably wasn't the most employable I was employable, but I was frustrated in employment.
You got to put it into perspective, Bola. He's a building surveyor, so
I am a building surveyor.
And there's an element of extreme OCD and control freakishness going on. And
says John,
telling him, and he just doesn't listen. Right. Well, our next question for you, Bola. We've got plenty to go on with. So, okay. So, in addition to, you know, where did you or what would you wish you'd known at the beginning? The other thing is, what advice would you give someone wanting to pursue a career in surveying? So it's a bit different focus, but similar.
Yeah, but I'm giving a lot of that. I wouldn't really call it advice. I'm having lots of those conversations. I mean, lots of people, John, are resonating with me and asking the question, where do we start? And you know, that's where Diversity Surveyors is just going into overdrive now. And I'm not sure whether it's because I'm being more visible and engaging more around my why, my journey, my this, my that, or whether there's something about the career that young people in particular see more optimistic about engaging with, right? So, and I think that's really got something to do with the digital skills piece, because they're seeing the transition and kind of, you know, we're no longer outside, we're inside the desk space, we're gaming and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, young people are asking, how do I start? Where do I start? And I'm actually promoting the apprenticeship route now, because I'm just so convinced that the apprentices that I've met that have become qualified are much more technically adept.
Oh, massively, and because you've got that on the job training, haven't you? That makes a huge difference. Yeah. Plus, not having a massive debt over you at the end of it as well.
Yeah, true.
There is.
I'm a huge fan of the apprenticeship route. When I was looking to start my career, it was something that I would have loved to have had the opportunity to do. I didn't want to go to university, but I wanted to be a surveyor, and to be a surveyor and a chartered surveyor, I needed to get a degree. So I went to university, but yeah, I'm a huge fan of it.
I think it's the way to go. It's the way to go. And you know, I'm even, I mean, you know, John, you talk about the training company that you have, and I actually think you're well positioned to grow now, because to grow even bigger, because the skills requirements is changing.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I've mentioned quite recently and publicly is that I want to establish my own apprenticeship, because I'm just so frustrated with the skill sets that we have.
Yes.
We're getting left behind in the conversation about who's driving cost and value in the project, right? Because it's not the QS really, it's everyone else.
Yeah.
So in trying to redefine ourselves and kind of realign our offer, we have to pick up new skills. And the younger QSs or cost managers that I'm talking to, I'm saying, well, actually, you know, what's your why? What do you enjoy doing? So data science, data analytics, all that, it's coming up now. Big ticket items.
Yeah.
When you look at that, you think, well, you know, quantity surveyors have always managed data. We've always analyzed data.
Yeah.
But we don't sell ourselves as data analysts, right?
Yeah.
Skills are changing, right? So young people, I'm kind of helping them shape their thinking, but there's a lot more interest around various pathways. And the big one seems to be facilities management.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Less so on building surveying, unfortunately, James. Project managers kicking in, but you know, there's big cost management interest for obvious reasons. But yeah, I'm advising all kinds of people, and even career changes. You know, a lot of, let's say, mid-aged women, but 30, late 30s, early 40s, that window of lots of women looking at quantity surveying.
Yeah.
Not sure why.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how the how you're right, how we have to change. And I think that excuse me, the pandemic has been one of those sort of catalysts, hasn't it? How everyone's managed to probably jump forward 10 years in technology in the space of about a year, isn't it? And it's like we've talked with others online and on our roadshow that we do every week as well. And yeah, it's just the whole technology piece means you can just touch everyone wherever they are. You don't all have to try and get to the same place, and you know, it's a different one. James and I, actually, just on that note, James and I are thinking of having or doing a podcast on the changing environment of the workspace, because CBRE published something a while ago, a few weeks ago, on their predictions. And it's that as well, you know, it's the whole piece across everything, isn't it? It's the changing, not only just what the competency might be, but also how we're going to be delivering that, what environment we're going to be delivering it in, and so on. So yeah, really interesting.
Yeah. Repurpose assets. Yeah. Okay. I like it.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, fascinating. I mean, we just on that point, John, because we spoke about it in our predictions podcast, didn't we, about how we saw the workplace and things like that, and even house design and stuff. So yeah, looking forward to having a session chatting about that, and it would be interesting. It's just fascinating to see how much change has happened in the last year in our industry and what we do, and it will be really interesting to see what happens over the next sort of year as the vaccine takes hold, and hopefully, you know, we come out of the other end of the pandemic. So yeah, fascinating. Now, moving on then, mindful that you may well have touched on this, but you may not have done. There may be some other interesting things in there, Bola, but what is your biggest challenge or mistake, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, biggest challenge. Taking people on face value. You know, because I'm a chartered surveyor, right, and I'm bound by rules of conduct, I've got ethics, right? So I'm if I talk to you, you're going to have ethics too.
Yeah. Oh, I've learned that one, mate. Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, that's
what was I thinking.
You know, I've had people say to me, "You're the most ethical person I know," and then they screw me over. Unbelievable. I've seen that happen. God.
That's what I mean, John. And so taking people on face value. I'm not a poker player. You know what you see is what you get with me.
Yeah.
And but I do have the fear of God. Now, because I have the fear of God, I tend to be open and honest, right? And that's been leveraged by many in the wrong way. So biggest mistake is almost taking people on face value and believing, even if we sign bits of paper, that they're still going to honor those agreements.
Yeah.
The world of business is a tricky place. It's the Wild West in many ways. You know, so that's the biggest mistake. And it's a repetitive one because, you know, they come in different shapes, sizes, and guises, right? So you can't figure this thing out until it happens.
No.
But you learn because you have to. You've got no choice. But again, I'm speaking from a business owner perspective because, you know, it's slightly different if you're an employee. But making mistakes and trusting people on face value.
Yeah. Do you on that note though, there's do you think it's do you get disappointed at that? Because I get immensely disappointed at the human condition. That seems to be in our DNA, that the next person is there just to do you over. And I like to think I run a business ethos of open transparency and being just nice, you know, but unfortunately that openness and transparency, sometimes you know, people do take you take advantage of that, which is a real shame. And I get so disappointed. And I think sometimes it's just me being a grumpy old git, saying, oh, you know, why can't people be nice to each other? But it'd be lovely if we were.
No, I agree, John. I mean, it's not, you know, again, I think it's a consequence of being bound by rules of conduct and etiquette, because sometimes I boil it down to if I didn't have to behave in a nice way, I'd throttle your neck. Because I know that's not the right thing to do.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to try and handle this situation.
Yeah, that's right. I've got to come up with a slightly nicer version of that.
So, you know, I mean, but yeah, I do get disappointed because sometimes you think, actually, you're supposed to be one of the good guys.
Yeah.
Right. And this is where this whole ethics thing comes in, you know, and it's different for different people. But what I try and remind people is that, you know, there's something called karma. And
yes,
bad, you will come back to you. And when it does, you least expect it, and it will hit harder. And it happens. And you know, so I'm, like I said, I've got the fear of God, and I believe that if I do good, then if someone crosses me, it's a matter of time before it comes back on you. So,
that's very true. And we're a very small industry in that way, aren't we?
Christ.
And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen over, how long have I been QSing now? Probably nearly 30 years. And I've seen it happen, you know, and people who were not particularly pleasant to me in my younger years or whatever. Now I'm in a position where my decision is whether they get something or don't get something. And you just kind of look at it through the old dog's cocked head going, do you remember, I haven't forgotten 15 years ago when you were really nasty? Are you still like that? You know, it's like, oh, no, you know, sort of, I'm really sorry. It's like, yeah. Comes around, goes around. Yeah, I believe that absolutely.
It does. And that's the only blessing, really, you know.
And then, isn't it nice when you're in your own space with no one else around you, go, yes. I'll edit that bit off the recording, don't worry. Cool. Okay, let's move on to the next one then. So what have we got here? We'll talk about COVID in a minute. We've kind of talked about this as well, I guess, but let's open this up a little bit broader then. What I put here is, where do you see your career in 10, 20, 30 years? You've already kind of told us that. Let's throw in the surveying world. Where do you think surveying's going in the next 10, 20, 30 years? I know we said diversification into sort of data and that side of things, but where do you see the world of RICS and, you know, the bigger picture? What do you think the shape of surveying is going to be? It's a nice big open question for you.
Fabulous question. Well, I think, first of all, I hope that the whole purpose and relevance and public good piece is still intact. You know, I'm a fan of the brand of RICS. The brand of RICS is, to me, it's almost priceless. So
yeah, agree.
I'm thinking that because most of my conversations at the moment revolve around and are taking place with Commonwealth nations, developing areas of the world, you know, Africa being number one.
Yeah.
And the real demand is, how do we deal with our professional services? What should they look like? How do we set standards? You know, they're looking to RICS for those answers, right? So for me, RICS will continue, or rather the surveying profession will continue, but I think we're going to have to look at how we deliver our professional services seriously. I mean, you know, that was my challenge. I've got a challenge to the profession called PQS 2030, right? Delivering it with Alan Muse. And actually, it's focused solely on the digital transformation of the quantity surveyor.
Yep.
Right? So it's soft skills, you know, can you lead? Can you manage people? Can you show mutual respect? Have you got empathy? Where's your emotional intelligence, right? How do you then translate that into, well, actually, this order of cost is not what the client wants to see or hear, but we need to break it to them, and we need to understand we need complete buy-in from the design team, right? So you've got to become more of a people person, more of a management focus, I think. It's going to be less technical. Generally, I think most pathways become less technical because it will automate lots of areas of the service. But I think we're going to have to become better management consultants.
Yeah, that's really interesting as well, isn't it? Because I don't know about your growing up and career thought process, but a lot of people think, oh, you're chartered now, so you must be a really good manager. Here's a team, you know, and it's just like, hold on a minute, you know, and I'll hold my hand up. I'm the worst out there, you know. I'm a blue sky thinker. Oh, something shiny over there has taken my attention. The team, I've got some fantastic staff around me who keep me in check and keep coming back to me. They're managing me, not the other way around. You know, so some of us are good managers, some of us aren't. But I think there's a lot to be said for, you know, not thrusting people into those roles without the proper training as well. So I think
absolutely
right. I think there's a massive marketplace for that sort of support, but it's about people realizing they need that support as well.
Absolutely. And that's why I think a lot of surveyors, as good as they are technically, a lot of surveyors are just not equipped to manage, pure and simple. They're great technicians, but they're not people managers at all.
Yeah,
I'm serious.
That very, very true. You know, it really is. I've come across plenty who are brilliant technical surveyors, but in terms of managing other people, it's a skill I think that can be learned, but I also think it's a skill that some people just naturally have and some just really don't at all.
Agreed.
Yeah. And unfortunately, working and managing people is quite a minefield nowadays as well.
Oh,
You've got to have your wits about you as well, don't you? So these things can kind of catch you out from inside rather than the challenges outside as well. So,
John, I've had some of those horror stories, and you know, like I say, I mean, I've been around the block. I've run several businesses. I've managed lots of people, worked with lots of people. Some of whom I would never want to meet again. But I just don't want the headache now. I want to work with my own skill set, my own IP, commoditize it, bring value propositions and other benefits to clients that can't see. But more to the point, I want to share it with the next gen. I want to kind of equip the next gen coming behind me to be smarter than me, more collaborative than I ever was, and to be more agile. Understand that, you know, nothing's impossible, and you've got to find people of a like mind, right? And that's one thing I haven't seen well in my career is collaboration. Firms don't work with firms, people don't work with people. Bit of a car crash, to be fair. Collaboration, please.
Just out of interest, a side one on that then is, so you're working with, as I am, quite a lot of younger people coming through. Now, this could be a over 50 gripe, so James can sit out on this one, but how do you kind of perceive the youngsters coming through? Are they wanting to work and graft as hard as we have over the last 20 years or so, or do you find that they're looking for everything on a platter? Everyone's kind of go, oh, millennials, bar humbug. But are you finding that motivation? You probably are finding a few that are motivated, but I tend to find there's quite a few just bumbling along.
Yeah, I think it's a mixed bag, but I would say that most of the young people or younger people that I come across are looking to me to just figure out my journey, how I did it, mostly as a Black man, right? But there are others who are just, we don't have time. We are not going to do 20 years, Bola. We want it now. We want it to do it possible. We want you to be honest. And we want a ton of money because we think that's what MRICS can do. And then I give them the reality check that, well,
start buying a lottery ticket.
You're in the wrong sector, right?
You'll win the lottery quicker than you'll win that in Surveyor, mate.
Right. But you know, the funny thing is, some are patient. I mean, to be fair, I've probably got about anything between 100 and 125 mentees, right? And they're not mentee-mentor relationships. What I do with these young people or younger people is we have a conversation that says, right, you're going to set a goal today, and it's going to take you 2 months to achieve the goal. You achieve it, come back to me, we'll have a chat. I'll make you feel so uncomfortable, you know that you haven't achieved anything, and then you'll go away. 2 months, you come back. And that's how I have the relationship. But I want people to set goals. Big, hairy, audacious goals that if they meet them, they blow themselves away. And that's pretty much what I want people to do.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool. I think we're down to we've jumped around a bit there, James.
We have jumped around.
Number 8, I think.
Well, I am just gonna ask what I want to ask John. So
you do what you want, mate, as you always do.
Well, you know, that's what this is all about.
At one moment, Bola, think that we've got any structure.
Yeah, we like to pretend,
right?
Yeah, we pretend we have, but we just do what we want. So I want to ask you about your OBE, because this is an incredible achievement, and I want to find out a bit more about it, really. So for those that don't know, what did you receive your OBE for? And we've got another question there, which I'm going to ask you anyway, because I really like to know, what was it like going to the palace and meeting the Queen and just everything about it? It's fascinating. And I think huge achievement. Congratulations. And from everything I see, thoroughly deserved. But yeah, just tell us a bit more about it.
Wow. So the citation is for services to diversity and young people in the construction industry. And I think that just really kind of captures the work I was doing unintentionally, right? Just engaging and sitting on various boards, panels, forums around young people and access, and sharing my story publicly, and just trying to inspire or inform young people around the opportunities in construction that largely I never got to realize, but I can see. And if you can see what I see, then you've got a half a chance of getting there. So none of that work was planned. It was all by accident, everything. You know, and I think actually it became, that citation applied really to my work with Urbanist, because Urbanist stands for Urban Inclusive Solutions. So what I was doing by pursuing the Section 106 deliverables on public sector contracts was engaging with those hard to reach. So I was going into Lambeth and Ealing and Harringay and Hackney and plugging myself into those conversations saying, look, do you want some work in construction, painting walls, fixing kitchens, you know? And it started there. And then I got a lot of traction, a lot of public sector bodies bought into it, gave me some oxygen, some profile and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't by design at all. But then my view was, how many of you want to become surveyors? So I plugged the surveying piece in, and then that kind of grew legs insofar as, well, how do we do it? And apprenticeships, APC, you know, and then access was even more of an issue, because they were coming back saying, we can't get a job, we can't do this, we can't do that. And that's how I set up Diversity Surveyors, to kind of bridge that gap. But to your point about going to the palace, you know, all credit to my parents, because I tell you, the day here's another joke for you. So the 10th of December, 2018 was the day that I got the call from the Cabinet Office, right? But the 10th of December was also the last day I locked my office. So my office was seized by bailiffs in October, and my landlord was in tears, and, you know, another story for another day. But I locked and cleared the office. I finished about 5:45 a.m. 10th of December. I was whacked, I was broken, I was upset, right? And I had a 2-week gig, freelance QS. I had a client in Mayfair. I was going to service that requirement, so great. But I had to get home, broken, barely able to drive, drove home, said to the wife, get me up at 8 o'clock, drop Armani to school and come back, and I've got to get to Mayfair for 11. So I get to Mayfair eventually, 11, or 10:30, and the client's not there. So I'm in reception waiting for the client. And then my iPad went ping, email came in. I called the Cabinet Office in the footer, but I just ignored it. Phone rang, unknown number, missed call. I knew that they left a message. Something said to me, just listen to the message. And I listened to the message, and it was this young man from the Cabinet Office. Urgent matter, please call back. I'm like, you know, Monday morning, Cabinet Office, have I done anything wrong?
Yeah. How widespreading is the Cabinet Office? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, come on now, I'm tired. Anyway, so I phoned this guy back, yeah. It's Mr. Rahman, yes. Is that Mr. Abisogun? Yes, thanks for calling back. And this is literally what he said. So he said, we've had Theresa May in our office, third time in as many weeks, questioning why you haven't responded to the letter. So guys, figure this out. I've been clearing my office 3 days. I'm tired. It's Monday morning. I've got this call. The only thing that could come to my mind was, is this a prank call? I asked the question of this young man, and he said, Mr. Abisogun, I kid you not, I'm calling from Cabinet Office. We need an answer today. I said, answer today? Yeah. For what? And he said, well, you've been shortlisted for an OBE. And I was sitting down when I had this call, okay, sitting down, and I thought, wow. I just went quiet, and are you still there? He said, yeah, I'm here. We need a decision today. Will you accept or not? So I didn't have the luxury of anything. I just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. That sounds interesting, yeah.
He said, well, we'll get a letter out, we'll get an email, sign. He said, but Chatham House rules, don't say anything to anybody until end of the month.
Yeah.
I said, okay, no problem. You know, I'm tired. But I wasn't that tired. Picked up the phone. Mom, guess what? I couldn't help it. I said, oh, okay.
Why would you? Yeah, absolutely.
My mom and my dad, they were just, and that was it. But I just thought, can't be serious. It's me, right? It's Bola.
Yeah.
28th of December, bang. I went online, saw it flash up, and thought, wow, it's real, you know.
Yeah.
And then it was like the palace visit that happened 3 months later. Apparently record time, because apparently you got to wait like 9 months or something. Anyway, I got an invite 3 months later, and I managed to take all my family.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, all my kids. Man, I got a special dispensation because I had a bit of an issue, but they let me take all my kids and my wife, and all 6 of us rocked up, and it was like, you know, we drove in to the palace. I mean, it was their day, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, it was like, wow, okay, cool. This is recognition of serving, because it's about service, right? So, but you know, it was future King, Prince Charles.
Right.
It was just mind blowing. And I remember, you know, big hands. He's got massive hands. That handshake was okay. And you know, we that conversation that goes on. I mean, he's a lovely guy, but he did say to me, "Continue to inspire." So you know, it was just humbling. More than anything else, it's humbling. I mean, I'm still in shock about it now, as you know, because I'm from Hackney, right, East London, bit of a terror of a youngster, but I've just served. And I think it's that whole service piece. That's what the whole family do. They serve, they this, they that. So yeah, but I dedicate it to my parents and every young person that's allowed me to influence their life in a positive way, really. But the day itself was for my family. And yeah, just a humbling experience. But that's how it happened. I got the call on a Monday morning. I thought it was a prank call. He said, no, you've been shortlisted.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I mean, James, who have you met? You've met William, haven't you?
I have met William. Yeah, it was
RICS.
It was at RICS at HQ on the
that's right
150th thing, and I was lucky enough. He went around the room after he'd given his speech and was introduced to people, and luckily enough, I was introduced to him. It was brilliant. Such a great conversation with him. You know, just about explaining to him. I had to explain to him that I was still one of the younger surveyors, because I was a matrix member at the time, despite the fact that I had plenty of grey hair. And he just looked at me, big smile on his face, and he said, "James, let's not talk about hair."
Very good, very good. I mean, that's that. I mean, the other nice thing about I would see with obviously achieving what you have with the OBE, it's great to then be able to share that, like you say, with the youngsters coming through. You know, I've nothing anywhere near the same as what you've achieved there, but you know, I get a lot of people talking to me, and the fact that they just, first of all, they come a little bit apprehensive, but then when they realize you're just a nice guy and just happy to chat, all of a sudden all the barriers of worry and concern and nervousness fall down, and they realize, you know, you're there to support, and you've got, you know, some great advice to give them, and they value that and come back for more, which is a fantastic. I mean, I'm assuming you feel the same, but that sense of satisfaction of being able to support and help people. You know, the best part of our job is when people tell us they pass.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's cracking. Yeah. No.
Well, you know, we're looking to exploit that relationship, right, John? Because, you know, the whole diversity surveyors thing, you know, it's been a one-man show for too long. I mean, I've got a board, there's 6 of us, but I respect their time. You know, they're relatively high flyers in what they're doing. So, yeah, it's been self-funded, a selfish or unselfish journey for 15 years now. And I've got to a point where I've got to work smarter now, you know, and that's why I said, look, you know, we need to do something about this whole APC piece, because it's overload for me. And I'm grateful because the demand is global. It's not just UK centric. It's coming from all directions, and it's the same ask. How do we? And you know, so there's something for us to do, and I'm
definitely. Right, let's move on to our next one. So tell us a little bit. So diversity surveyors is actually on our list of questions as well. We want to ask you about. So I think we've probably covered it in sort of briefly in other conversation piece. But what specifically is diversity surveyors about? Because I don't think we've asked you that yet, but we've chatted around it. But the specifics, what's your kind of key aims and objectives with that?
You know, initially, if I tell you how it started from, you know, back in 2005, 6, you know, it was 4 or 5 of us used to meet up, black guys, have a proper whinge, you know, what isn't going right What
Yeah.
more can we do? What do we have to? All of my guys decided to leave. You know, Qatar, Oman, Abu Dhabi, Australia, Canada. All of them are still there 15 years later. So I was the dreaming optimist, and I said, right, you know what? If we're going to do anything, we've got to challenge the profession. So I took the conversation to RICS. I said, look, can you see me, and can you help me? Because I just don't feel connected. So pretty much really became a safe space very early on. And we've remained a safe space for having those really, really what I call culturally competent conversations about what it means to be of the non-traditional talent pool, right? And it just grew. Everything else is layered. So the whole APC piece is layered. Career guidance, senior mid-management levels is layered. Even mocks, which is a huge ask, you know, can you do a mock? Can you do a mock? Well, we're trying to do that amongst the network, right? But fundamentally, we're just a network for, as I call it, exhibiting excellence in surveying, because one of my pre-qualifying criteria is A, you must be a degree holder or aspiring to be a degree holder, and B, you must aspire to be chartered. Those are two conditions of engagement almost, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, they're excellent. Our network is just full of excellent people. And so I'm promoting excellence in the profession with the non-traditional talent pool, if that makes sense. Now, really and truly, we shouldn't even be in existence, but we are, because there are still challenges, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, James, I don't know whether that answers your question, but that's pretty much what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's something I've seen and heard about, but it's nice to kind of finally speak to you and find out more about it. So kind of what things are you and what sort of levels of assistance are you offering to your, you know, to these people in this network? I assume there's very much a, you know, each other helps each other person, and, you know, that's how the network builds. But kind of what physically do you do? Do you have certain events that you hold, or you know, what sorts of levels of support is it?
I mean, originally, first year, I mean, we've been going, you know, 15, 16 years, and it's always been informal networking. You know, we meet up 2-3 times a year in a bar, whatever, 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever, how many people. When we publicly launched with RICS in 2017 at HQ, that was pretty much the first public-facing event we'd ever done. And I flew in a client from Atlanta, Georgia, one of my mentors, Exec Perry. He did a keynote. And then we got recognized in Modus and all this kind of stuff. So people migrated around, well, when's your next networking event? Well, guess what? COVID put pay to that. So that model I knew was never sustainable, because it wasn't just going to be just about networking events. For me, it was about where is the value proposition? How can we help you to become a better professional, right? So that conversation began to move more towards IP, professional standards, etc. And then the collaboration piece around, well, how can we create more business amongst ourselves as surveyors? And that's pretty much what most people are doing. But then there's the giving back piece. What are we giving to the next gen coming through? Yeah. That's what I'm focused on now. And that's the whole ABC piece, etc. So networking events really have died away. I've taken that model online. So I'm now scaling the conversation with different people, different parts of the world at the same time. And because I'm doing that and have been doing it now for about a year, I'm realizing that, wow, I've hit my peak. I need to do this in a slightly more intelligent way that allows me to continue to scale, but not around me, around the network. So I almost want to remove myself from the core and allow the network to thrive, because when people hear DCS, they think of Bola. I think when people hear DCS, they want to think of non-traditional excellence. So I'm still working on that piece. And I think to do that better, I'm going to kind of engage with other people. But essentially, that's what we're doing.
Oh, that sounds really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact you've managed, I mean, part of what we had on our list of things, you know, COVID, how's that impacted on what you're doing? It's absolutely that, isn't it? And it's how you're diversifying or growing within that the acceptable ranges and parameters that we have to work with at the moment, isn't it? So
I think COVID has been a blessing, because you know, it's like you try and get people on the phone and they say they're on a plane, they're on a train, they're in the car. Everyone's at home now, have been for a year. So I've been able to really tap into that static footprint. So actually that conversation we didn't have, we can have it now.
Yeah.
And just scaling it, having many more people engaging in the same conversation because of this platform that was always there. I mean, I've always used Skype. I've used Skype for 20 years, right? It became Teams.
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't new to me. It was new to the rest of the world. So I've had fun watching the rest of the world transition from the office into working from home, because I've been working from a park bench or an airport lounge for 20 years, right? Standard. But watching the rest of the world try and get into that space has been really refreshing to some degree. But the young people, they got there very quickly.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Right? So it's been interesting. So the fact that we haven't held face-to-face in-person networking events, we just had conversations online and continue to do that. But for me, it's about knowledge share, IP share. I'm constantly talking about, you know, I say disrupting the profession, but basically realigning our offer, because the fact is a lot of those business models are dead. They're gone. You know, forget it. It's not going to happen. Clients are more informed. They're more connected. They can get a lot of data free. So where's our value proposition in Charlotte Surveyors? Can we still say our data is our goal? No, we can't. You know, we've got to be more conversant, much more better people and people managers. We've got to engage around the piece of innovation. We've got to be willing to be humiliated in public in terms of, well, you don't do that anymore. We're not paying for that either. We're going over here. You know, we've got to look at our relationship with technology. You know, it's moving. So I'm having all of this intelligence I'm building into the next generation so that their whole mindset is almost going to be completely different to ours.
No, that's really interesting. And it is I'm kind of in the queue with you on that one, because we've been doing online stuff for about 10 or 12 years as you watch everyone else. Now, another side question on this one as well is, now I've spent the last 20 years traveling around the country, around the world, you know, servicing clients, etc. And then obviously pandemic hits, and all of a sudden I think, hold on a minute, I can do this from the comfort of my new log cabin. So, I mean, you must have been traveling a lot as well. How have you found that whole, everything brings it to a halt and now you're working from home, or, you know, from a set location because we're not going anywhere? How have you found that for yourself?
Well, look, first of all, I was on a plane religiously every year, 3 or 4 times a year. I was in Atlanta, Georgia, 3 or 4 times a year without fail, occasionally in Africa. And it was nice to just get out of London. I could do door to door, anything between 8 and 10 hours, depending on location. But, you know, because I'm no longer a spring chicken, right? Even though I may look young, but
you don't look as old as James does. Look at his beard.
I just don't need the headache of it. I mean, you know, this whole travel bug, I had it, I spent it, and I'm not bothered by it. You know, I think the young people and my kids are more than anything else, but you know, the whole thing's changing now. You know? I don't have the energy to be running around, and I'm conscious more about my carbon footprint, he says. And I just think that I was always in that space. I was always, do I have to fly to Atlanta just to have this meeting? Do we really? And it used to frustrate me, but now, which I'm just doing so much more. And I'm actually glad the rest of the world has arrived, because I've been there for years. You know, I always said, I don't have to fly, I don't have to drive, I don't have to be there in person. Don't you understand that? But
no, it's really interesting, because my mindset has changed in the last year, going, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. You know, and before I was thinking, oh, what would the client, I can't let my client down. And now it's just like, seriously, no, you can have it online or not at all.
Correct.
You know, because frankly, it's cheaper for you anyway if we do it that way. But to tell the truth, I'm quite happy where I am. And I don't want to catch what you've got, because allegedly that's going to kill us all. So,
as well.
You know, I mean, another interesting point, I think I've asked a few people this one as well, is I saw it on, where did I see it? I'm sorry, I'm digressing for a moment, but hey, it's my podcast, and James's. And I saw it, someone was going, okay, RICS, how are we going to treat chartered surveyors who refuse to have the vaccination? Surely that's conduct unbefitting. And it's like, what? And it's just like, I couldn't believe that I'd seen someone state that. It was just like, where's this whole human rights and personal choice bit gone? You know, if that person doesn't want to take the vaccine, then as long as they don't put other people in harm's way, then, you know, away they go. But yeah, it was a really interesting point. And I don't think really, I think someone in regulation tried to have a bit of a, yeah, interesting point, but no, you know, we're not going there. But my thought for you, where I'm getting to with this is this whole piece of, you know, we're now working at home and okay, the vaccine's going to kick in. Here's one for you. Would you go to a meeting if, say, there's 5 people in the room and one person hasn't had the vaccine?
I tell you, this whole vaccine...
Isn't it an interesting one? It's just, you don't need to answer that. But I've got this banging around my head all the time going, would I go and do this? I'm not sure I would. But, you know, it's like...
John, you know, I don't want to get contentious because all I know is that this whole vaccine piece, for me, it's subjective rather than objective. Right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I did a BSc. I'm a scientist, okay? And unless and until we see the evidence that then allows people to make informed decisions, and we don't have the evidence. We have lots of people that are fearful, others that are not, some with underlying conditions, some that don't. You know, others have different motive.
Yeah.
Some are just concerned. We've got a mixed bag. And for me, you can't pressurize anyone into this. I mean, I haven't had it yet. I haven't had an invite. I'm not worried about it. I'm a herbsman. I eat and drink from the ground, right? I grow stuff. You know, I feed. I've cooked every day for my family.
Yeah.
Since this lockdown, because I love cooking. I love eating.
Yeah.
And I'm cooking stuff I know works for my family, keeps them, you know, balanced, vitamin D and everything else. So if we are unfortunate to have an episode of whatever this thing is, then we'll have to do and act appropriately. But at the moment, if I went into a meeting in person and one person hadn't had it, 4 had, and I knew about it, I'd take the view that if we can apply social distancing in that environment, if we can achieve the requisite airflow, I might visit. But personally, the problem we're all going to have is they say that the vaccine doesn't prevent you from infecting other people, right?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Yeah.
And the other thing that worries a lot of people is the fact that, you know, why would you look, if you had a car manufacturer and you bought a brand new car, you took it on the road and it was found that the brakes didn't work and you had an accident, what would you do? You'd go back to the manufacturer, right? Apparently, some of these drug firms don't have that fallback position.
Yeah.
They've got complete, you know, whatever happens, we're not coming back to you, because now that upsets a lot of people. I'm a scientist. It doesn't make really a lot of sense to me, but you know, that's just me. But I'm just saying, in the context of that meeting, if we can apply the relevant measures, and if I need to be there in person, I will. But I'm worried about moving forward. I'm worried about what the dynamics of teams will be, given that no one knows enough about this thing, right? And it's a moving target. You have the vaccine or not. How long is it before you do or don't infect someone else? I mean, no one knows these answers, right? I actually feel really, really sad for those that are trying to administer it and make it and whatever the case is, because it's a lose-lose situation.
It's an absolute, you know, you're in for a kick in whatever, aren't you?
You know what I mean? So and you got the rest of the world, some trying to get it, some trying to avoid it. You know, I don't know what it means for us as professionals. All I do know is that there has been a paradigm shift from where we were to where we are today. And where we're going to be, God willing, this time next year remains to be seen. And I just think, you know, my biggest regret is the young people. I've got 4 young people living with me, 19, 18, 14, and 9 going 10 years old, right? And I feel bad for bringing them into this world and that they're going through this now. I feel bad. I feel responsible for their pain, right? Even though it's not of my making. But young people, they are getting battered left, right, and center, right? And our job, okay, you need to address the issue around do they or don't they have it. But my job for my kids at the moment is to inspire them to keep going. And one of the things I've been doing with my kids and many other young people is telling them about every one person has at least one business in them, right? The university model's been broken, the school model's been broken, the whole work pipeline's been broken. The only thing left is your skill set. If you can commoditize it, turn it into a business, you're good to go. And I'm telling them about that piece, that don't forget, you can be your own business owner too. The rest of the world is falling apart, but your dreams must stay intact, right? So that's what I'm doing, and it's working.
Yeah, no, I think it sounds sound. I'm not far off. Yeah, I've got a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, and it is about keeping them motivated, and keeping them engaged, and they on the one hand want to go back to school, on the other hand don't want to go back to school, so it's a really interesting dynamic that we have at the moment, and yeah, it's quite a challenge, isn't it? So cool, good, thank you for that. I've lost track. James, is it your go?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really matters, to be honest, John.
All right,
go for it.
Sure, I'll go for it then. So we're going to move into some slightly less serious, because I feel we've kind of sort of put the world to rights in places. Where in the world would you like to visit that you've not been able to so far? And you said you weren't that interested about traveling anymore now. So is there still places in the world you'd like to go to?
I'm a well-traveled man. I've been blessed. I've been most places I've wanted to visit. Where in the world? I think I haven't been to Australia.
Oh, have you not? Oh, I managed to tick that one off in 2018 because I was very excited about that. Yeah,
I haven't. I've got a good friend there, Stephen, and his description of his lifestyle is quite intriguing.
It's very different out there. Yeah, my nephew lives out there, and they seem to have a lot more relaxed lifestyle.
And I'm like, okay, that's definitely a destination. But I mean, I've been most places, James. I think I've got to be grateful and humble. I got the bug to travel very early on in my career, 99, literally, and I jumped on a plane. I didn't stop jumping on planes, basically. But Australia, if anything, because I've done the whole Africa thing. I've done Middle East, Far East. I've done North, South America, and I've clearly done the UK. So I've done the UK by car, actually, because I used to.
I think I
used to service the motorway service stations. So
yeah,
I did a lot of miles.
Which ones you like? Which ones you don't like? Yeah, no, I know that feeling.
Yeah, which is your favourite?
Yeah. Cool. Okay, I'm going to hand over to you, James.
Well, I'm going to ask the soon-to-be famous at some point, if we keep pushing it, would you rather question.
Oh, would you rather question.
We always ask our guests a would you rather question, and it's would you rather be a surveyor or something else? So we've decided, I think John decided this one. Would you rather be a surveyor or an astronaut?
You haven't been to the moon yet.
Ooh. And I've often thought I lived on Mars, but astronaut, yeah. I don't trust myself, though. Don't trust myself in that suit. That suit.
In what way would you go, I don't need this?
Well, if you break wind, there's nowhere for it to go.
Oh, I didn't even consider that. Yeah. Oh, dear.
So, I mean, and I just think the whole floating about piece, not really sure about that. So
you can do that in an airplane in Russia, mate. So yeah, there's no go off world for that, is there? So okay, that's cool.
But no, I mean, I think for me, surveying, I'd sooner be a surveyor because it's such a diverse role, right? But I don't see myself as an astronaut. If you said pilot, my first love was aeronautics.
What sort of pilot? Like commercial or fighter pilot?
No, private jet.
Oh, private
jet. So it's on call. It's leisurely. It's always lots of fun. But yeah, private jet. Half a dozen people.
Yeah.
And it's location to location. Yeah, and I want to get one actually. So that's another quiet wish list item.
So what to do a pilot's license?
Well, you know what? I'd love to. I really would. I'd love to.
Would it be a plane or helicopter, or you definitely jets?
No, I'm a jet. I'm a Learjet.
Learjet. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
And I've seen too many Nigerian ambassadors use these as toys, and I got the bug very early on. So I'd love to be a pilot. Yeah, of my own jet, actually.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. No, that sounds cool. Yeah, no, pilot's a good one. So I'm going to let you do the last one, James, because it follows on.
Follows on. So okay then, and I don't know where this question came from. I'll blame John.
It was just random. If you're in my world, it's a perfectly good question.
I'll blame John, but it does follow on. So what 3 things would you take with you to the moon? Obviously, you're not going to the moon because you don't want to be an astronaut, but in the hypothetical world,
let's pretend that
you said, I'd love to be an astronaut.
Yeah.
What 3 things did I take?
Let's say, what 3 things would you take to a desert island? Let's keep it a bit normal because you don't want to go to the moon.
What 3 things would you fly in your jet to a desert island?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I'd have to take some of my best pots because I like to cook, right?
Oh, no, you see, you mentioned cooking. I've become a closet baker in the last year. Yeah,
he's not that much of a closet baker. He talks about it all the time.
I do, but I'm well into my baking bread and stuff. Again, it's a bit of my heritage, so yeah, I'm well into that. So I can understand the cooking bit.
Well, yeah, I'd take some of my best pots, but you know what? I'd take my family because they are my rock. So I couldn't go anywhere without them. In as much as they're a pain at times, I take my whole family. And I think the third thing I take is I've got a prized BMW 320 in storage. I'll take that as well because I don't drive on the road. It's a collector's item now, but it's a racing dynamic spec. It's 320i SE. It's the first car my wife gave me money to buy, so it was almost her way of telling me that she loved me. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll take the car then. So the car's in storage now, and I'll take that with me as well, actually, because it's just a great piece of kit. Even though I probably won't be able to drive anywhere on it.
I was going to say, it'd be all right. You wouldn't be able to drive it on a desert island, so you wouldn't be putting miles on it, so it still stays at classic level. So you're okay. Yeah, but you could at least go and stroke it and look at it, and sit every so often.
And sit and do the whole
stereo. Has it got a cassette tape or a CD?
I think it's got a cassette tape in it.
Oh, very good. Yeah. I was trying to explain cassette tapes to my children the other day. They didn't.
Oh, please.
Couldn't understand the concept. So yeah.
You see how far the world has come along.
Oh, amazing, isn't it? It's
amazing,
amazing.
isn't it?
Yeah. The only thing my youngest daughter wants is unlimited data. What would you like for Christmas, darling? No, unlimited data. That's it. That's the lot. But why? So I could brag to my friends because they've only got 500.
Oh. Love it.
Yeah, you can have it then.
So you got all this to come, James, right?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Fabulous.
Yeah, no, very good. Oh, cool. Well, we've run out of questions. Is there anything else you want to tell us about, or any last sort of topics or anything at all that kind of catches your fancy? Now you've got the bug of the Serve Pod. You'll have to come back and do some more with us, mate. It's good.
Yeah, this is fabulous. I mean, I think it's a great idea. How did you come across the idea then?
I talk a lot, and James listens.
Yeah, I'm going to take credit. I'm going to take credit for it actually, because I went to John with the idea. And because when I started, podcasting was something that I'd not really listened to them, but I saw it was something that was new, and there were a lot of people kind of getting involved in it, and there wasn't an awful lot of surveying or construction related podcasts out there, and the ones that I'd listened to, sort of business related or even construction, I found a bit dry. So in starting my business, I thought it's a great little tool to say hi, who talk about me and raise profile and stuff. And me and John, been mates for years, and it was a case of, well, we have bounced off each other quite well. We like to have a bit of a laugh. We could do something a bit more lighthearted. And most podcasts I think you listen to is an individual host with a guest speaker or something. But we've got the beauty that we can bounce off each other if you want to do a podcast on a topic, or likewise we can bring great people like you on and just have a bit of a chat and a laugh. And you know what? It's great. It's just great fun doing it.
It is, isn't it? It is.
If you misunderstood what he said a laugh. That means a laugh. Okay. I'm sorry.
I forget I'm technically northern to you.
Yeah, you are northern. Yeah, you're further north than Watford Gap, aren't you? So you're all,
yeah, in the Midlands. So yeah,
absolutely. So I think that's kind of pretty much bringing us to an end then. So
it is, yeah. So can I just want to say one thing, because I make notes when we do these things and I tick off certain things. And right at the start, you said that you didn't consider yourself a role model. You said you were not a role model, and I would like to say that I think you're the very definition of a role model. I appreciate nobody's going to say that they're a role model, and a role model should probably not be the right person to say, oh, by the way, I'm a role model, because you're probably not. But I would just like to say it's been an absolute thrill. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I could listen to you for hours. And yeah, just fascinating. You definitely got to come back on.
God willing, absolutely. I'm here to serve. And it's been reciprocal. I was looking forward to the conversation. And you're right, we have never spoken, James. And this young man, John Lever, he is the reason why I became an APC assessor. So I owe it to John Lever, if nothing else, to honor that, because it was amazing. That was 2007, and then 2008, didn't look back. So it works.
Yeah, spot on. Well, we're always looking out for other topics. So if you've got anything exciting that you want to kind of come and have a chat and say, hey guys, this is what I'm thinking, and we'll go, oh, what's that mean? What's that do? Just give us a call. I
tell you what, John, as you say that, mate, today we launched the Digital Twin Toolkit Business Case Report by TDB Tech UK, right? Okay. So I'll send you the reports by email.
Yeah, please do.
Interested in that. Yeah, definitely.
Once the video link comes out, I'll send that to you too, and you can have a look at it, because actually, we talk about this fusion of skill sets. Digital twin solution is here, and I think James, I'm talking about the black box in asset management. I'm trying to give buildings a bit of a brain in terms of how to operate, etc. And I think you'll be both really interested in. And
that's great.
I don't know whether you realize we've got a webinar next week with RICS on cost prediction. So I'm sitting on that panel with Alan Muse and a couple of others. But I'm just trying to get the conversation about how we need to evolve as surveyors, right? And so I'm happy to kind of pick that up.
That'd be great. Yeah, absolutely. Once it's give yourself a few weeks of sort of getting up and running. But definitely come back and we can chat it through and tell us what you're doing, because like I say, it's always a challenge to try and think of good questions and ask people things and everything, but it's nice to actually talk about things you're doing as well. So that's what I think I'd throw into the podcasting idea is, yes, lighthearted and fun and interesting, but we're here to promote the industry. We are. Bring put the pride back in surveying and all of those sort of things, and promote the industry, and that's what we're about. And just goes to show that a building surveyor and a QS, one, can talk to each other, and two, aren't that dull. So well, I hope.
Let's hope. It depends who you ask.
That's my thought process. I seem to laugh a lot during these, so hopefully other people.
The comment I made about the person saying there is a role model wouldn't say they're a role model. I don't think you should say you're funny either.
I'll wait for you to tell me that.
That's for other people.
Okay, well, it's been absolutely storming, Bola. Thanks ever so much for coming along, and we look forward to. We will take you up on that. We'll tap you up for some
definitely
podcasts. We're definitely coming back.
Excellent.
I think it'd be great to talk some more. So, as in our long tradition of podcasting, as we have done, we tend to finish off with a telling everyone to stay safe, wash their hands, and
don't lick any strangers.
Don't lick any strangers, absolutely. So, we wish you all the best, Bola. Thanks again ever so much. It's been absolutely fantastic.
My pleasure, guys. My pleasure.
Cheers, Ed. Take care.
Take care. Bye now.
Hello there, and thank you for joining us for our latest episode of the Surveyor Podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as we enjoyed making it. Don't forget to subscribe at all your favourite podcast providers: Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and so on. Also on Twitter and Instagram at SurvPod, that's SURVPOD. You can also get us on YouTube. Click the subscribe button, and don't forget to click the little bell. It tells you when we post our latest content, and on our webpage, survpod.com. Don't forget to leave us your reviews, comments, suggestions, and of course any questions. And finally, if you want to come along, join us at a future episode of the Surveyor Podcast, send us an email to survpod@gmail.com. If you like what you see and hear, tell your friends. Let's put surveying on the map. Stay safe, wash your hands, and don't lick any strangers. Bye-bye for now. The Surveyor podcast is a copyright Deliver and Invise Limited production. We suggest you come up with your own ideas and not copy ours. Thank you. Catch you again soon. Bye-bye.